So if you're looking to get beyond, those quick motivational fixes and really build some lasting psychological well-being, maybe even personal mastery, you're definitely in the right place. We know you're probably after frameworks that actually work, not just surface level stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's our mission for this deep dive. We've sifted through a pretty dense pile of sources, mostly around cognitive restructuring, behavioral psychology,
Yeah.
stuff that really pushes back against the common story about success.
We're trying to pull out those core levers, right?
Yeah.
The actionable bits, maybe even surprising facts that define not just getting things done, but that feeling of self-worth that should come with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the first big challenge that jumps out from this material, it hits right at the foundation.
Yeah.
It forces us and you to really look at this very common but maybe fundamentally flawed idea of self-esteem.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that seems like a good place to start. Because for, gosh, decades, the message has basically been build self-esteem with positive self-talk, lots of praise from others, avoid feeling bad.
Right. And our sources argue that approach. It actually creates a kind of fragile, really unstable sense of self-worth. It's like building a house on sand.
Okay, let's unpack this then. If we sort of strip away the participation trophies, the constant, you're great, what's left? What do these sources say self-esteem actually is?
Well, fundamentally, it's described as an internal conviction, a feeling of worth that you have to earn.
Earn. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not built on feeling sorry for yourself. And it definitely doesn't come from that quick hit you get from, say, like on social media or some easy praise.
Because that's external, right? It fades.
It fades fast because you didn't do the heavy lifting yourself internally to generate that feeling. It's borrowed confidence almost.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. It shifts self-worth from being this passive thing you just have, maybe you're born with it, to something active, something that results from deliberate effort. It gives you agency.
That's it, exactly. The crucial insight really is that sustainable self-esteem is earned through what the material often calls difficult, meaningful actions.
Difficult and meaningful. Both are important.
Both seem critical. Think about the difference between finally solving a complex problem you've wrestled with for days versus, I don't know, someone saying, nice shirt.
Right. One feels deep, internal. The other's nice but fleeting.
Precisely. One is this stable internal confirmation of your capability. The other's fragile, external. If the action isn't difficult and meaningful to you, that psychological reward, that deep sense of worth, it can't stick around in the same way. You have to commit to that high agency effort.
So it reframes difficulty entirely. We're not seeking hard tasks just to suffer through them.
No, not at all.
We're seeking them because they're maybe the only path to genuine, lasting self-esteem. Okay. So the foundation for personal mastery needs us to chase these meaning-filled struggles.
Which brings us right to the next obvious problem, doesn't it? If you're pursuing difficult things,
You're going to fail a lot.
you're going to fail, you'll hit setbacks, you'll have moments of just sheer dread. So the challenge becomes managing your internal state, right? So you don't just quit when things get tough, especially before that earned self-esteem is really kicked in.
Yeah, I think everyone knows that feeling. Just completely overwhelmed. You face this huge task, starting a business maybe, or finishing a degree, climbing a literal mountain even. And the first thought is often about everything you lack.
Right. Lack of money, lack of time, lack of skills, lack of certainty.
Paralyzing.
It can be.
Yeah.
And the fundamental technique the sources keep highlighting is the absolute need to shift your focus. Deliberately,
Okay.
you have to pivot your attention away from what's missing or what you can't control, like the huge, scary future at the very top of the mountain, and onto what is present and manageable, right here, right now.
So instead of staring at the whole 100-item to-do list,
You'll freeze if you do that.
Copy.
You focus on item number one, just that.
it sounds like a kind of psychological triage. Deal with the immediate thing you can affect, not the overwhelming scope of the whole project.
That's a great way to put it. If you look at really high-performing people, it's not that they're necessarily less scared. They're just masters at managing where their attention goes.
They control their focus.
They do. They practice something like cognitive chunking, breaking the massive challenge down into these discrete, doable units, like, in agile development, focusing just on the current sprint. Each small step reinforces that sense of capability.
Okay, but that focus shift, it needs to be more than just vaguely intending to think positive, right? It sounds like it needs a system.
Oh, absolutely. It requires a deliberate mechanism. And this is where the framework gets, well, extremely practical. The source material lays out what it calls the 3 key decisions.
Clear decisions.
Yes, that you're making constantly, often without even realizing it, in every single moment. And learning to consciously control these 3 decisions is how you stop that downward spiral and actually gain immediate control over your psychological state.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's lay this out clearly. What are these 3 levers that apparently shape our entire reality?
They sound almost too simple, but they're profound. Focus, meaning, and action. They dictate how you see reality, how you interpret it, and ultimately what you do about it.
All right, decision number 1, focus.
This is the bedrock. What do you choose to pay attention to right now? Are you focusing on the big problem, the angry email, the missed deadline? Or are you focusing on the one small thing you can actually fix or address in this moment?
And where you put that focus determines how you feel, basically.
Instantly. Focus on how unfair something is, you feel like a victim. Focus on, I don't know, the creative challenge of solving it, you feel energized, maybe even excited.
Okay, makes sense. Decision number 2, meaning this must be about interpretation.
Precisely. Once you've chosen where to focus, you assign meaning to it. And this is where I think a lot of people get tripped up. Well, let's say you focus on a setback. You lost a big client. The meaning decision is critical. Do you interpret this as, see, I knew it. I'm a failure. This business is doomed.
Which leads to feeling hopeless.
Right. Or do you interpret it as, okay, painful, yes, but this is valuable feedback. It shows a weakness in our, say, sales process that we can now fix.
The difference is huge. So if I focus on failing a test, the meaning is deciding if that's a catastrophe defining me forever or if it's just a diagnostic tool.
Exactly. A diagnostic showing you exactly which areas need more of that high agency effort we talked about. If you assign a negative permanent meaning, I'm just bad at this, the internal spiral picks up speed. Assign a temporary instructional meaning, I need to study chapter 3 more, you keep your power.
Okay, focus, meaning, and the last decision must link this back to the real world, to actually doing something.
That's action. It's the choice of what you decide to do about the event based on the meaning you've assigned.
So it flows logically.
It does. If you focus on the setback, give it a permanent failure, meaning the logical action is probably retreat, avoidance, maybe just complaining. But if you focus on a possible solution, assign it an instructional meaning, the action becomes adjustment, trying new strategy, moving forward somehow. These 3 together, focus, meaning action, they create your lived experience moment by moment.
Wow. That framework really does seem to offer immediate kind of granular control, which feels like the definition of mastery. But let me push back a little. What about when the setback isn't, a spilled coffee or even a lost client, but something genuinely catastrophic, a major life event? How do you realistically force a positive meaning when reality feels truly crushing?
Yeah, that's a fair challenge. And the source material isn't just about naive, positive thinking. It's more nuanced. It's about choosing the most empowering meaning available, even in really dark times.
Empowering, not necessarily happy.
Exactly. Even if you lose almost everything, the disempowering meaning is, I have no control, life is pointless. An empowering meaning, which still fully acknowledges the pain, might be something like, I cannot control what happened, but I can choose to define myself by how I respond and rebuild, not just by what I lost. The action then follows that chosen meaning. It's about finding agency, even when external control is gone.
That makes the framework feel much more robust, applicable even in real hardship. Okay, so we have this moment-to-moment control system. Let's shift gears slightly. How do we prepare ourselves before the difficult stuff hits? How do we proactively set up our mind so we're ready for those inevitable challenges needed for earning self-esteem?
Right. So now we're moving into more advanced mindset tools, things like pre-framing and priming.
Priming, like priming a pump.
Sort of, yeah. Priming your mindset means consciously preparing your psychological state, your emotional baseline, your expectations before an event even happens. The goal is to enter that difficult action already in a state of resourcefulness, not just reacting cold.
Okay, tell me more about pre-framing. That sounds more structured than just visualizing success.
It is more structured. Pre-framing is basically strategic mental simulation. But it's not just about imagining the perfect outcome. Critically, it involves anticipating the negative outcomes too.
So thinking about what could go wrong.
Yes, but constructively. You anticipate the specific challenges, the criticisms, the potential points of failure. And then this is key. You decide in advance how you will interpret those things, meaning, and how you will respond, action, using that same focus, meaning, action framework.
So if I have a big presentation, I pre-frame it by running through the scenario where, say, the CEO hates my main idea, and I decide now that the meaning of that isn't I'm finished, but maybe, okay, time to pivot to plan B, which addresses their likely concern.
Exactly that. You're essentially inoculating yourself against shock and emotional hijacking. You've already chosen your empowering meaning and your constructive action before the pressure cooker environment hits. So you respond with strategy, not just raw emotion.
That sounds like it takes serious discipline. And thinking longer term, if we need to keep seeking these difficult, meaningful actions for years to sustain mastery, where does the fuel come from? That intensity must be hard to maintain.
It is, and the sources consistently point to the profound benefit of finding a purpose greater than oneself.
Meaning, if it's just about me.
If your motivation is purely internal, just about your own improvement, your bank balance, your ego, it tends to, well, run dry pretty quickly when real hardship hits. That kind of fuel source is just intrinsically limited.
The second the difficulty feels bigger than the personal reward, you're tempted to quit.
Right. But when your actions, especially the tough ones, are clearly connected to serving others or advancing some mission you believe in or contributing to something much larger than just your own success, that external focus acts like a kind of inexhaustible fuel.
The meaningful part of difficult, meaningful action gets amplified.
Massively. The personal pain or effort involved gets absorbed, or at least contextualized, by the power of that larger mission. It gives the high-agency effort real longevity.
Okay, so the difficult actions serve a purpose beyond just you. The internal reward feels deeper, and the whole process becomes more sustainable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here we bump into the final, and maybe the most delicate, balancing act. The sources are pretty clear that the sheer intensity required for mastery, constantly seeking those difficult actions, can lead straight to burnout if it's not managed.
Yeah, you can't just grind forever.
You can't. If you're always living in the future goal, always focused on the next challenge, you risk destroying the present moment.
So the grind needs a counterweight. And not just like taking a vacation, but a psychological counterweight.
It does. The final piece for truly sustained achievement and, honestly, for genuine well-being seems to be the importance of balancing ambition with gratitude and joy.
Okay, explain that balance.
You have to be driven, yes, hungry, constantly focused on that next meaningful challenge. But at the same time, you must actively practice acknowledging and appreciating what's good right now, what you already have.
The danger being you become that professional striver, someone who achieves a lot but seems incapable of actually enjoying any of it.
Precisely that. If your focus is only ever on the gap, the distance between where you are and where you want to be, you kill the joy in the process itself. And that ultimately makes the hard work feel unsustainable. Real mastery seems to involve loving the process, the striving, the difficulty, the learning, not just dreaming about the eventual outcome. You have to somehow weave gratitude for what is into the pursuit of what could be.
Okay, so what does this all mean? Let's try and synthesize. We've talked about self-esteem not being given, but earned. Earned through difficult, high-agency actions that give you that internal, stable proof of your own competence.
Right, that's the foundation.
Then we saw the internal battle, the overwhelm, is managed by consciously shifting focus from what's lacking to what's manageable, using that really practical three-part framework: focus, meaning, and action.
Gives you control in the moment.
And finally, we saw that keeping this up long-term requires both proactive mental prep, like pre-framing, and this crucial, delicate balancing act between fierce ambition and genuine present-moment gratitude.
Yeah, that captures the whole dynamic pretty well, I think. The entire system kind of rests on this creative tension, doesn't it? Between constantly pushing yourself into difficult territory, but also maintaining your psychological health and resourcefulness while you're in the thick of it.
Right. And speaking of that tension, maybe let's leave you, the listener, with something to chew on, something that builds on all this. This raises an important question.
Go on.
If we accept that earning self-esteem really requires us to constantly seek out difficult, meaning-infused actions, right? But we also know that long-term well-being demands we deeply incorporate gratitude and joy for the present moment. Where exactly do you draw that line? How do you maintain that state of, like, grateful appreciation for what you have right now while simultaneously pushing yourself to overcome what currently feels damn near impossible?
That might be the ultimate test of personal mastery right there.
Yeah.
It's that constant lifelong dance between acceptance and striving.
A perfect challenge to mull over. Maybe reflect right now on which of those three key decisions, focus, meaning, or action, you could consciously adjust today, even slightly, to better align with earning your own sense of worth. Until next time.